Welcome back to the show where we give you all the Dolphins news you need to know about. Remember, guys, this podcast posts each and every single Monday. I'm going to start doing it on Monday because I like to watch Sunday Night Football, and it gets really late after that. And that is the reason. That's really the reason. So, obviously the first news story, we get a dub in our season opener against a pretty dang good football team. And they actually ran an offense. I was wondering how they were going to run their offense because they have obviously a new head coach. Mike Mularkey's out of the building. I didn't know if they were going to run with, a lot of under center stuff. I thought it was going to be a little bit more spread shotgun, so some of that kind of going on. But no, they ran with a lot of under center, a lot of outside running plays, and that is something that I was definitely worried about because the offensive line that we played, although Taylor Lewan got hurt. Jack Conklin got hurt, and Taylor Lewan ended up getting hurt. That offensive line is one of the better ones in the National Football League, and obviously those two running backs are really good. So they definitely took it to us on the line of scrimmage, but I think I guess we should start with the defense. Obviously, we finished the game. The final score was 20-27. It obviously should have been 17-27. A late field goal there by Blaine Gabbert, who drove his team down the field. But in terms of the quarterbacks and how they performed and how our secondary performed against their quarterbacks, Blaine Gabbert finished 11 for 22, 117 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Really not a whole lot there, obviously. Not really surprising that Blaine Gabbert did not play well. But Marcus Mariota finished 9 for 16 for 103 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He also finished with the stat line in terms of rushing. He carried it 3 times for 15 yards, and he averaged 5 yards a carry. And that was a huge emphasis. I'm going to start with the secondary, though, before we get to the front seven. The secondary played very well, and at least, early in the game, it took them a while to get kind of settled in. But once they got settled in, obviously they played very, very well. There was one breakdown in coverage, and it was really a missed assignment. But there was no busted plays other than the throw back to the tight end early in the game. Other than that, unless I'm forgetting something, because obviously the game was delayed a lot. Unless I'm forgetting something, there was really no breakdown in coverage. I thought the entire secondary played really well. Obviously, Bobby McCain, I don't want to say it was a question mark, but for his first, not his first NFL start on the outside, but for his first start in a very, very long time on the outside, he played very well. Everything that his receiver got was earned. Nothing was open. It was tight coverage the entire game for Bobby McCain. Obviously, X played well. Minkah Fitzpatrick had a really good first start in the National Football League. I can't really see here. Minkah had 3 tackles. And I think he had 2 pass deflections. It's not listing here on the thing. And obviously the MVP of the secondary is Shad Jones, who just came up huge and with 2 interceptions. Obviously that really changed the momentum of the game. So yeah, our secondary played very well. Other than a couple plays to the tight end, Delaney Walker, who was open a couple times across the middle. That had more to do with the linebackers than it did with the tight ends at times. I thought coverage was a little late. His route was super quick on some of those deep down the middle plays, but what are you going to do? I mean, Delaney Walker finished so this is their receiving stat line. Corey Davis led the team in receiving. He had 6 catches for 62 yards. He averaged 10 yards a catch. Delaney Walker had 4 catches for 52. Luke Stalker, which is the other tight end, had 2 catches for 37. Deion Lewis had 5 catches for 35. Tajay Sharp finished with 1 catch for 17. So there you go. That's their stat line. So that's a pretty good stat line. Now, granted, I can think of a couple plays. Delaney Walker, he had a couple big catches, but for the most part, he didn't have a huge game against us. Stalker only had the 1 catch, which was a busted coverage and a missed assignment by TJ McDonald. Corey Davis, obviously former first-round pick, had 6 catches for 62. That's nothing to really talk about. And Rashad Matthews is not even on this stat line. He didn't even do anything. So we did a really, really good job. Our secondary did a really, 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 really good job. And the key stat there, not one touchdown. Not one touchdown. So our secondary did a very, very good job. And I'm telling you, man, I was like, after the 2 interceptions, obviously I was losing my mind, but we have one of the. I mean, we have a pretty dang good secondary. T.J. McDonald's he's the ugly duckling of the game. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I would give. I mean, we would have had a perfect performance almost. So, yeah, man, I'm very happy with how the secondary played. And I don't know if there was any question marks of how they would play. I guess there was. Preseason means nothing. But obviously it's week 1, so we got to hold our horses a little bit because we have 15 more games to play. And obviously, hopefully this is the team that we're going to see for the rest of the year, but you never know. We got to stay consistent. But our secondary, man, they played very well. And our front 7 is talented. So if they can just complement and be consistent and give us a performance like that week in and week out. Delaney Walker, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, I would gladly hold him for 57 yards. I think, what was his receptions? Let me look here. 4 receptions? I mean, that's nothing, man. Especially for one of the better tight ends in the National Football League. All right, so let's go to the front 7. So in terms of their running backs, Deion Lewis finished with 16 carries for 75 yards. He was averaging almost 5 yards a touch. He had 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry finished with 10 carries, 26 yards. He averaged almost 3 yards a carry, but 2.5 yards a carry. And then obviously Marcus Mariota finished with 15 yards on the day. And I forgot to mention, holding Marcus Mariota, who I consider, he didn't have a good year last year, but he's a good player. And he threw 2 interceptions as well. And obviously one of those was to Kiko Alonso, who we're about to talk about right now. Deion Lewis tackling was not great. I'm not going to say the run defense was perfect, because it wasn't. They were running it at will, and I want to say, because that stat line could be a lot worse if we didn't keep scoring. If we didn't keep scoring, I feel like Deion definitely would have finished with at least 100 yards. But 16 carries, 75 yards. It could have been worse, especially on 16 carries. 10 carries for Derrick Henry for only 26 is obviously really good. And we kind of got lucky with that holding call. It was holding, but it's very difficult sometimes to see holding that far, that deep into the middle of the line of scrimmage like that. So we kind of got a lucky break right there. So the run defense wasn't great. It was okay. I would say it was okay. It wasn't bad, but it was okay. Obviously, Deion Lewis snuck in there for that touchdown. Tackling wasn't great either on Deion Lewis, but he's one of the more slippery players in the National Football League. Derrick Henry's the one we really had to worry about in terms of power, and we really did a great job on him. Obviously, 10 carries to 26 yards, averaging 2.6 yards a touch. So that's not bad. Obviously, Deion Lewis had a good game. Like I said, it wasn't great. It wasn't anything to talk about, but it was okay. And in terms of coverage from our linebackers on our front 7, Kiko Alonso, had a pretty good game. He finished, let's see here. See if I can't pull up his stats real quick. Okay, right here. Kiko Alonso finished with 6 tackles, and he had 1 interception, so he had a pretty good game. And I can't really remember any. There was one play to Deion Lewis where he caught the first, but he was one-on-one with Kiko. But that's what Deion Lewis is paid to do, man. That's why he got so much money in the offseason. That's why the 49ers wanted him. That's why we wanted him, because he makes plays in the open field like that, and that's why he gets paid the big money. So he does that to everybody. So I'm not going to really, hate on my man for that. So I feel like Kiko played well. Raekwon McMillan is definitely a young middle linebacker. There was a couple plays where he was washed out of the play. Obviously, he'll build on that, hopefully, and continue to improve. Jerome Baker, for the limited time, let's see here. He had 3 tackles, comparing that to Raekwon, and he didn't even play as much as Raekwon did. But I felt like hang on, I have to go back and look at that game. So I think Jerome Baker was out there for most of the time. So yeah, I thought the rookie, they did pretty good for rookies, and obviously Kiko had a good game. But so let's get to, we talked about the run defense. I thought the DTs looked pretty good for the most part. In terms of pass rush, it was kind of disappointing. We didn't get a lot of sacks, but when we did get pressure, obviously we were able to turn the ball over, which was nice. And Omar Kelly brought up a good point. He tweeted that they did a lot of cut blocking and obviously gave Gabbert a lot of extra help. But still, it wasn't great. I mean, you definitely expect a little bit more. There was a holding call that they didn't call with Robert Quinn, who I think ended up having a big play on it anyway. But yeah, the pass rush wasn't as good as we thought it would have been, especially with Robert Quinn and Cam Wake. But they didn't play together a whole lot, which is very weird. That's something Matt Burke has got to change, for sure. So he's definitely gotta change that. We spent, I think, 10 minutes talking about the defense. We gotta move on to the offense. But overall, the defense, man. If I could go give him a hug and a big smooch on the face, I 1,000% would. They played very well, and that secondary was definitely the backbone of the defense. They played very, very well. And again, I mean, there wasn't a ton of pressures. I would have to look at the advanced stats, but from what I remember, there wasn't a lot of pressure. So the secondary, man, they did their job. Okay, so offensively. Whew! Offensively, let's get into it right now. Let's start with the running game, which was superb. Everybody in the running game played very, very well. Frank Gore finished with 9 carries for 61 yards. He averaged almost 7 yards a touch with 6.8. Kenyon Drake finished with 14 carries for 48 yards, almost 3.4 yards a carry. Albert Wilson, who we ran a lot of super nifty packages with, which was so fun to watch. He had 2 carries for 7 yards. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Ryan Tannehill finished 4 carries for 4 yards and 1 yard an attempt there. So I thought the running game was really good. Other than the occasional short yardage runs, some of the outside zone schemes still are kind of plaguing us with penalties. That's something we're going to have to clean up. Even though it was kind of a ticky-tack call, but it is what it is, man. We got to clean some of that up, man. We at least either that or just hide it better. Something. We got to do something. But obviously, some of the highlights of the day in the running game. Frank Gore, I think it was first and 20, if I'm not mistaken, and he obviously carried it for a 20-yard gain there. He looked really, really, really good. Kenyon Drake. Obviously looked really nice in the rushing game and the receiving game. If it wasn't for was a second or first and goal interception, which we're about to talk about, which is the worst play of the game, he might have had a rushing touchdown as well. So the running game was really nice. They did a very good job against the short yardage. I mean, you could look at it two ways. I mean, either we just didn't get it done, or the Titans defense is just that stout in the middle. They have one of the best DTs in the league, and their defensive line is good. They have Wesley Woodyard as their middle linebacker, who's one of the more actively. He's really good around the line of scrimmage against the run. So I'm not gonna fault them for that. But other than that, we played, especially against that D line and that front seven. I felt like we did very good against them. And all I got to do is put on tape of the past against these guys and just watch them destroy our offensive line. So no complaints here, man. No complaints here. I don't think Jarrell Casey didn't sack Tannehill one time. Brian Orakpo, I think, had 4 or 3 sacks the last time we played them. Derek Morgan had like 2, and I think Jarrell Casey had a few, and that was the last time Tannehill played them. So it's basically the same front seven, and we did a tremendous job of keeping Tannehill clean as well as in the running game. So in terms of our offensive line, we looked really good in the running game. Looked really nice as well. Let's get into the passing game, which, again, is going to be hard, man. When you look at their secondary, this is something we didn't talk about in the last podcast, but we talked about Kevin Byard, Adoree Jackson, who played very well as a rookie, who's an upcoming player, Malcolm Butler, who's a proven Pro Bowler in this league. Those are 3 very good players in the secondary, and we did a very good job of mixing things up and getting people open in the pass game. So your final stat line of the day for the passing game, Kenny Stills finished with 4 catches for 106 yards. He averaged almost 30 yards a catch with 26.5 a touch, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm talking about right there, with 2 touchdowns. 2 of them on him. The 2-time right there. Obviously, one of the things that we excelled at in 2016 was the splash play, and that's something we were missing last year on a consistent basis. And Kenny Stills was obviously the biggest proponent of that, and we got him back, and he's doing his thing again. Jakeem Grant with 5 receptions, and that's a huge stat for him because he's had drop issues. So 5 catches is nice. Seeing him in the high catch high catches is nice. He had 5 catches for 38 yards, 7.6 yards a catch on the day. Albert Wilson, who played very well, was very shifty in the running game and passing game. 3 catches for 31, 10 yards a catch. Danny Amendola coming in with 4 catches, 26 yards, 6.5 a catch exactly. Kenny Drake coming in with 3 receptions for 18. And Mike Gesicki, 1 reception for 11 yards, averaging 11 yards a catch. So the passing offense was really good. It was almost unstoppable the entire day. If it wasn't for, basically 2 red zone turnovers. 4th down, Kenny Drake sadly couldn't get both feet in, which sucks because he could have. And obviously it's one of those plays where you just got to throw your hands up. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get, we couldn't get the Tony toe tap on the sideline there. And then the second one was it was so frustrating. Not to mention, right after that, the game got delayed for, I think, the second time at that point. So, I mean, it was one of the more annoying. Thank God my brother's game was going on at the same time, because I went to go watch that game with him while the game was delayed. But I have never been so angry at an interception, because at that point, especially since we left, I mean, obviously, could have been 14 points, at least 6 on the board that we didn't get, which is obviously huge. When you leave that much points on the field, which you could easily have had, that's a big deal. And then going in for the chance to just, I'm not going to say put the nail in the coffin, but it's halfway there. Up 2 possessions at that point in the second half, and was it 6 minutes left in the third quarter? That's huge, man. Going up 14-3 at that point, or 14-10, I cannot remember. I think it was 14-3 at that point. Would have been huge, and we finished with 27 points. So our offense could have been even more stellar if we could have just gotten the job done, which is unfortunate, man. I mean, it's just not good. Let's talk about that interception. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill, we didn't get to him. His final stat line: 20 completions, 28 attempts, really good. 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So I want to start with the negative. The interception is the only real gripe I have with his performance on Sunday. Not to mention, this play was telegraphed. And when I say this play was telegraphed, it could not have been more obvious that we were about to throw a fade to the end zone. If you guys go back and watch that play, Gesicki signals to the sideline. I don't know if Malcolm does this as a joke or just as like, throw it to me and see what happens. He signals to the same person on the sideline. I do not know who that person was, and I'm assuming it was our sideline, telegraphing the play pretty much. And then Tannehill, obviously, he singled up to one side. Everybody else is bunched up to the other side. So it's obvious what we're about to do. We have a tight end on a cornerback who's got way more size than he does. I knew what we were about to do. I think everybody in the building knew what we were about to do. So it's going to take a perfect throw for this touchdown to happen, because everybody knows what's about to happen. Okay? And it needed to be a throw where it's my guy or no guy, which is what you should do on a fade. And the number one sin of a fade is if you throw it too far inside. It's got to be high and outside, and let your athlete go up and get it. To whatever shoulder he's on, I don't know, depending on what side of the field you're on, it doesn't matter. High and outside, never too far inside, because that plays to the cornerback's leverage. And Tannehill, unfortunately, did not give my dude a good ball right there, and it was intercepted. And it was such a huge play, and we're lucky Malcolm Butler doesn't have Deion Sanders in him, or that would have been a pick six. So that was a frustrating throw. It was a frustrating play. Gesicki ends up falling down, but it was just a little bit too far inside. It was a little too flat. It wasn't not enough velocity on it. Before the play even happened, they were talking about how Gesicki has a 41-inch vertical leap. Okay, so my dude can go up and get it. We just need a little bit better of a throw there, and that was about it. Other than that, Tannehill played very well, especially in the fourth quarter, putting up 17 points. 7 of those obviously was kickoffs, so we'll say 10. So yeah, he played huge. He played very, very big for us in the fourth quarter. Obviously, a beautiful, beautiful touchdown pass to Kenny Stills, which I think we were all freaking out about at that point in the game. Just the perfect pass. I mean, he had and I love the play calling in the fourth quarter. I loved it. I think we were up a possession at that point. We were going for the win, and obviously that put us up 2 possessions, and then they ended up answering with the kickoff return for a touchdown eventually to make it a 1-possession game again, which was obviously huge for them. Or maybe, yeah, I think that's what happened. I can't really remember, but that was a huge play. Perfect throw by Ryan. Good coverage by Malcolm Butler on the play. He perfectly played. I mean, that was everything you textbook. He was clutch, ice water in his veins in the fourth quarter, and I love the play calling, man. We went for it a bunch of times, and not to mention on 3rd and long. I don't know what happened on this throw. The second interception, Jakeem Grant was wide open. I do not know what happened. I don't know if it slipped out of his hand. I can't really talk about that, but it was good as a punt. It really didn't affect the game at all. It was just as good as a punt, and obviously I think Kenny Vaccaro ended up intercepting it. So that interception is kind of like a wash. It really didn't affect the game that much, but I really just don't know what happened on that play, to be honest with you. But yeah, Tannehill looked very, very good in his home debut. For us, it was really nice to see him, and obviously he had a smile from ear to ear. But dude, he was killing the Titans the entire game. If it wasn't for the 4th down, and it wasn't for the interception, which I'm sure he would love to have back, then we could either be looking at 4 to 3 touchdowns at least for Ryan Tannehill. So really good, really efficient. Really good performance by my dude. And the receivers looked really nice as well. Especially Jakeem Grant, and obviously Kenny Stills putting up 103 on the Titans. So overall, it was a really good performance. I love the play calling. I thought it was, obviously the red zone offense needs to be better for sure, but we got down there a lot, which is a really good sign. But I'm sure we'll improve on some of the red zone plays, and again, we just gotta clean up some of those turnovers. That's it. That's all we really gotta do. But other than that, man, we played a really good football game against a pretty dang good football team that made the playoffs from a year ago. Not a lot of changes except the coaching staff, and they improved some of the talent too on the football team. And again, that secondary is super underrated. Front seven's nothing to mess with either, and Tannehill came out there with a very, very good performance. Looked good the entire game. Other than that interception, looked very, very good. Very happy with that performance. I think we all are. The defense looked really nice. The run defense could be a little bit better, but the secondary looks really nice. The front seven could have gotten more pressure there, but overall, pretty good performance by the defense. Didn't even talk about my dude Jakeem the Dreams. Not only did he play very good in the passing game, but obviously the special teams touchdown was huge. I mean, I was freaking out at that point. And to be honest, it's nice to have a special teams touchdown, especially with Jakeem, to help us win a game. So, really, really nice. All right, so I guess we should get into some real news. I don't know if we'll cut some of this short. I think we'll do them all. Dolphins shows staying power in season opener. This comes from CBS Miami. I don't think we've ever done a story from here. The Miami Dolphins' first game in 2017 was delayed due to a hurricane. So we know. Miami showed a willingness to wait for a win, outlasting the Titans 27-20 in a game that took longer to play than any since at least 1970. This is just about adversity and overcoming it. We know we did that. That's old news. Next news story. Dolphins wire. Dolphins longtime snapper John Denny consecutive game streak could be in jeopardy. This sucks, dude. And especially since, dude, if we don't get a real long snapper in here, I look at some of the games that happened over the weekend, and it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Surprising, the Dolphins didn't suffer a lot of injuries during Sunday's marathon game against the Titans. However, a key player that plays a significant position did suffer an injury. Long snapper John Denny played in his 209th consecutive game on Sunday and says he's the active leader in consecutive games played, but Denny sustained a shoulder injury as he was replaced by Dolphins rookie tight end Durham Smythe. Mike Cole is usually the Dolphins' emergency long snapper, but he is currently on injured reserve. On Monday, Dolphins head coach said the team is still evaluating Denny's injury. Hopefully we'll get some new updates on that, but that sucks, dude. Obviously, John Denny, a fan favorite, and a long-time Miami Dolphin. Hopefully he gets back and ready to go. This story comes from the Miami Herald, and it's Armando Salguero. So if you want to go read the entire thing, we're going to read a little bit of it, but this is just an argument against Ryan Tannehill that I thought we would bring up, because I love my dude, and some people think I'm biased towards him and towards this team, so I just want to give another point of view. Welcome back, Ryan Tannehill. It took 637 days or 91 weeks for Tannehill to return to a Miami Dolphin regular season game after he went down with his first knee injury on December 11th, 2016. And here's a shocker, he's the same guy. Or at least that's what Sunday's game against the Tennessee Titans suggests. When he was injured, Tannehill finished his season with a 93.5 rating, which made him the Dolphins' the 12th rated passer today. A look at the NFL status after 1 week. Tannehill comes in with an 89.9 rating, which makes him the 13th rated passer in the National Football League. In 2016, Tannehill averaged 230 yards per game. On Sunday, Tannehill threw for 230 yards a game. Uncanny, right? And look, it's not correct to draw a strong and lasting conclusion based on one game, so it didn't. So don't think I'm doing that. Tannehill will have great games this year, and he will have stinkers. But my point is that he did before. None of this is new. So I disagree with this wholeheartedly. I think that's a stupid way. Just because the stats are the same, that means if you watch the game, it's a considerable difference. I mean, if we're talking about 2016 Tannehill leading us to an attendance, depending on what Ryan Tannehill we're talking about, right? Because that was winning football. That was winning quarterback play at the position. He was moving the ball at will on Sunday. Okay, we should have had 30-plus points if it wasn't for stupid mistakes. If it wasn't for, obviously, it wasn't a stupid mistake, but Kenyon Drake, uncharacteristically, didn't get 2 feet in, which never happens, and the play was open, and it was a good throw. And then, obviously, the other one, which obviously was on Tannehill, but a better throw there, either incomplete or a touchdown. So, he had a really good performance. I mean, he was moving the ball up and down the field, and that's what a quarterback should do. And he played game-winning football. Why do I say that? 10 points in the fourth quarter to win us that football game. Other than I'm taking Jakeem Grant's touchdown out of it. Not only that, a clutch, beautiful deep ball to Kenny Stills in the fourth quarter. Should have put the nail in the coffin, but obviously the Titans fought back. So yeah, that is something that we haven't seen and that we're not accustomed to seeing in the Tannehill era. And the way I look at it is Tannehill, and I don't want to get into this because it's stupid. Because anybody who watched Sunday's game and compares, and just this is my opinion, anybody who watched Sunday's game, and let's say from 2012, and 2012 to 2015, that's a different player. I mean, I don't care who you are, that's a completely different player. Who's just confident, knows the offense, and you can tell by the way he plays. I mean, the man's making super fast reads, accurate with the football, and obviously the beautiful deep ball touchdown. So that's game-winning quarterback play. And to me, I don't care about the stat line. I don't care if it's similar to what he did in the past. I think that's stupid. What matters at the end of the day is we beat a good defense, we beat a good football team, and we won 27-20. So it wasn't like we weren't putting points on the board. And we should have put more points on the board if it wasn't for stupid mistakes. So those, by the way, are easy mistakes to clean up. Easy mistakes to clean up. And will not be repeated, I can almost guarantee. So I just disagree with that. I think, it's sometimes football is more than stats. Sometimes it is an eye test. And clearly the performance on Sunday was something to be very proud of. From a Dolphins fan perspective, and if you're Ryan Tannehill, I'll take that any day of the week, for God's sakes, especially not playing football in almost 2 crapping years. This next question comes from Dolphins Wire. This next news story comes from Dolphins Wire. Chemistry between Ryan Tannehill and Kenny Stills continues to grow. No more Jarvis Landry, no problem for the Dolphins. At least that was the case in the 27-20 Excuse me. And their 27-20 Week 1 victory over the Titans. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill was able to have an efficient day for the Dolphins, completing 20 of 28 passes for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Kenny Stills probably benefited the most from Tannehill's performance against the Titans on Sunday. Tannehill and Stills hooked up on 4 receptions for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 75-yarder that gave the Dolphins a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. After Sunday's game, Dolphins head coach Adam Gase spoke about how Tannehill's and Kenny Stills' chemistry has grown. With Landry gone, Stills could be in for a career in his 5 previous seasons in the league. Stills has never recorded an 1,000-yard season. In 2017, Stills finished with 58 receptions for 847 yards and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, they've always had good chemistry, other than their first year together. But ever since then, they've always had good chemistry. In 2016, that was one of the bigger reasons why we made the playoffs, is because they were able to connect on so many big plays downfield. And this game was this is what we were able to do in the fourth quarter in 2016, and make big plays like that to win us football games. It's just really nice to see that. And this offense is completely different with my dude under center. Granted, the offensive line is definitely shored up and it's better, but Tannehill is so good at the quick passing game and getting the ball out of his hands quick, making the right decisions, making the right reads. People complain. Listen, you got to understand what kind of offense you're running. You got to understand the concepts of this offense and why we do things. When you see Tannehill dump it down on first down for a 3 to 4 yard gain, that's huge in this offense. That's ginormous. You have to have receivers that are good running after the catch. That's the entire purpose of this offense. You're getting your playmakers in open space to make plays. Once you do that, that sucks the defense up. They either get more aggressive, they play more man-to-man, they blitz you a little bit more to get the ball out of your hands quicker than it already is, or just basically, some of the things you could do, and then that sucks, and that allows you to make to obviously hit the big ball down the field. So everything has a purpose in football, and the quick passing game, it's crucial to the quick passing game that you have positive yards on first down. So I don't know what point I'm trying to make there. I think I just got on a tangent. I literally lost my train of thought. So we're going to move on to the next news story. I think we're talking about Kenny Stills and Ryan Tannehill. I think I went off a tangent on Tannehill. It's late. I'm losing my mind, everybody. But yeah, Kenny Stills, Ryan Tannehill, to wrap that up, as good as ever, which is really nice to see. This next news story comes from Dolphins Wire. Rashad Jones had one of his best games in a Dolphins uniform versus the Titans. Despite the 7-hour marathon game against the Dolphins and Titans on Sunday, safety Rashad Jones had one of the best games of his career. Jones finished with 7 tackles and 2 interceptions against the Titans. He picked off Marcus Mariota and Blaine Gabbert. It was the first time in his career Jones had 2 interceptions in one game. The Dolphins defense was able to force 3 turnovers as they gave up 336 yards to the Titans. Jones' 7 tackles were tied with T.J. McDonald for most in the afternoon. Yeah, so my dude Rashad, being a beast, he'll go down as one of the greatest Dolphins in NFL history. And if you look at his stats, he's making a case for Canton. I don't think he'll ever get there because obviously he's not a popular player. He's not a hopefully he might. I mean, maybe if we can keep this going, I think he'll be known for more winning. Hopefully that'll help him get into Canton because he's having a very, very, very good career. This next news story comes from ESPN. We don't read a lot from ESPN, but here's this story from ESPN concerning quarterback Ryan Tannehill. There's no such thing as a normal. We're gonna skip this part. Let's see here. So this was the big thing. This is about how the team trusts Tannehill and how they respect Tannehill. 6 Dolphins players and Coach Adam Gase mentioned the word, quote, trust when describing the impact of Tannehill's return has on the team. It doesn't feel like a cliche team uniting thing either. It's clear Tannehill's return has brought an increased level of trust and calming presence to a Miami team that was subject to a lot of chaos in 2017 when Jay Cutler was brought in after Tannehill had ACL surgery. Receiver Jakeem Grant added, quote, when he's back there, we know we can make splash plays. There's a lot of trust between us and Ryan. We play for each other. So there you go. I mean, if you want the team mentality and what they think of their quarterback, that's exactly what you want to hear. That's exactly what you want to hear. I don't care what, that stuff doesn't bother me. And I mean, it's an opinion and it's a valid one because it's a good argument. I just do not agree with that. I mean, looking at Tannehill with your eyes, excluding the stats, when you watched him play on Sunday, he looked really good. He looked really, really good. He was moving the football up and down the field. That is what a quarterback is supposed to do. He is a veteran dude. I'm telling you something right now. This is it. This man he's going to he's going to have a very, very good season, man. From what I saw on Sunday, he's going to have a very good season. Especially with the pieces around him, with that offensive line. Stuff of that nature. I mean, my dude's back, and he's better than ever. I just disagree. I have a lot of burps coming up. I'm trying to hold them in, guys. It's late. Burps are coming up. Just got done watching the Rams game. I'm sure everybody loved just snot right in their ear, right there in their ear. So I'm trying to pull up the fan Q&A right now. I'm trying to stall a little bit. Pulling it up. 44 questions this week. I really appreciate you guys for getting your questions in. Really, really appreciate it. This question comes from Matthew in. He says, what do you think about the defensive ends? We didn't get a sack the entire game with backup right tackle and left tackles in the game. It was disappointing. I will say that, even though they were, cutting our legs out from under us and stuff of that nature, I agree with Omar, it should be a penalty in the National Football League. It's kind of ridiculous. But other than that, I mean, we definitely should have gotten more pressure on them. There are ways to counter the cut blocks, obviously. So we should have done a better job. I agree with you, but I don't think it has anything to do with the rest of the season. I really don't think that. I don't think that. And Cameron Wake and Robert Quinn Ward did not see the field together a lot, and I think that's a schematic. I think that has a lot to do with it, and I think that's something we need to change for sure. Francisco Santana, he says, pumped. Does Tandy throw for 4,200 yards? We seem to have weapons everywhere. Where does Parker fit? What a luxury to have such a problem. This is the most fluid offense I've seen since Miami, since Chad/Marino. Chad Pennington, not Chad Henne. He's not crazy. Nor is he stupid. I agree with that. I mean, the way the offense was moving up and down the field on a consistent basis, it was efficient. It was just amazing to watch. I mean, we had such momentum early on in that game, dude. It was like such a groove. Pop, 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 pop. I mean, everything was pop, pop, pop. All right. Everything was going so well. Obviously, that drive, unfortunately, again, couldn't get the 2 feet in there. But we were killing them, man. We were killing them. And that's what was so frustrating about it. Because I was like, where is the knockout punch, dude? Because we were beating them, body blows. We just needed that right-handed hook right to the jaw. And that's all that was missing from those drives, is that one last punch, dude. Because we were getting it. Okay, it was amazing to watch. We haven't seen offense since I don't win, just like you just said, Francisco. I haven't seen fluidity like that in so long. It was just unfortunate we just couldn't give him that last punch there. So, yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Bad Bandits. Let's see. The question was, we have a search ball fit. I've seen Marino say, yes, I would agree that it's the most fluid I've seen in our offense look in a very long time. Bad Bandit says, how do you feel that offense will change when DP returns? I think I just bruised my thigh. Trying to give you guys special effects in the background. This is like a super low budget show, okay? We have to do physical comedy, everybody, okay? Bad Bandit says, how do you think the offense will change when DP returns? That's a great question. Depending on what Devontae Parker we get, and I don't know, because I hope he's as a crisp of a route runner that we had on Sunday, because that was consistency, that was route, that was attention, that was everything. I mean, that's consistently executing plays. None of our receivers took plays off. They all ran their routes. They all tried their hardest, and that's something that Devontae Parker needs to work on, giving 100% effort. And listen, he's not one of those guys, but he's not like a Randy Moss who just like limps sometimes. But I need him to be zeroed in. Okay, zeroed in on a consistent basis. So hopefully he gives us consistency. Hopefully he gives us big playability, and that's hopefully what we could add to the offense. In red zone, I mean, him and Devontae and Mike, and if Devontae is on, that's a huge. And Devontae has a great hands, great hands. I mean, when the ball is in the air, for all Devontae's faults, he rarely ever doesn't get to the ball. I mean, he has had some serious highlights in his career, Randy Moss-like catches, and I don't say that lightly. I mean that seriously. So hopefully that he can give us some of that on a consistent basis. Cody says, do you think with Devontae Parker back, our offense can be more deadly? Yes, it can be, for those reasons I just explained. J. Rose says, am I the only one who feels like we could win the AFC East this year? Fins up, baby. Listen, everybody needs to, pump the brakes. Seriously. Okay? We've had week ones like this before. I mean, the one in recent memory where we beat the Patriots in opening day, and obviously that season did not turn out so well. So, listen, it's week one. We have 15 of these things left. 15! Okay, everybody calm down. Hopefully this is the team we get each and every single Sunday, and it was great. And I'm not one of those guys ugh. I enjoy the win. Trust me. I enjoy this victory, and we looked really good, and we beat a good football team. But I think we need to pump the brakes on winning the AFC East. We're a good football team. We have a very good football team this year, in my opinion. I said it before the season started. We have a good team, a good football team in Miami this year, and we should, win a lot of games, hopefully, this season. And if Sunday has anything to say about that, we will. This next question comes from Ron. He says, why did Gase abandon the run game with both Drake and Gore gashing the Titans? Josh Sitton struggled in preseason, but he came out and dominated the D-line of the Titans. I don't think he struggled in preseason. I don't even know why I said that. I really don't. I would have to go back and look at preseason, but I don't remember Josh struggling. Why did he abandon the running game? I really have to go back and watch the game, Ron. I can't really comment on that because I don't remember. I would have to go back and look at the play calls and look at the play calling. All I know in the fourth quarter, we did a lot of hard play action fakes, which I liked. Just really trying to go for the dub. I like that kind of stuff. I mean, we've been running on them all day, and I like that aggressiveness. But there was that 1/3 and 4 where Tannehill rushed, and it was not a holding call. They called it on Josh Sitton. It looked like it was holding, but it wasn't. That was a bad play call, but really can't answer your question on that. I had to go back and look at the game. But if you're referring to the fourth quarter, I think it was just we were trying to win the game, and most of the time, obviously, I don't know. Yeah, the Kenny Stills play, I think it was hard play action fake, and because the running game was working so well, I think if I can remember correctly, and then I think that was a hard play action fake. And the one that Tannehill missed, Jakeem, for whatever reason that was a hard play action fake, which was wide open. It was a deep crosser. So I like the play calling for the entire game. So that I disagree with you if that's what you're saying, but I don't think that's what you're saying. I think that you're asking why did he abandon it. I think he was just trying to go for the win, if that answers your question. You're just being a little bit more aggressive. Francisco Santana, he says, I see a 12-4 season. Jets, Bills should be easy 4 wins. A paradigm shift is happening with both Miami and New England winning 27-20. Food for thought. I don't know, dude. The AFC East and within your division is always going to be more tough because teams build their team for other teams in their division, and they literally all off season prepare for those games. So it's going. I don't care if you're bad or good or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're always going to be tough because you're most prepared for those opponents. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Corporate Gamer says, thoughts on Tannehill's performance and his 2 INTs. We talked about his 2 interceptions. Do not know what happened on that Jakeem Grant one. I have no idea. Maybe he just overshot it. I have no idea. But the other one was definitely 1,000% I can say was Tannehill's fault. I mean, we need a better throw there. I know Gesicki fell down, but that throw needs to be high and outside. It just needs to be, especially on that play. He needs to throw to Gesicki's leverage, whatever shoulder that is, on the other side of Malcolm Butler. Either to whatever outside shoulder that is, he needs to throw that to. It needs to be high. So it was a little bit too low and a little bit too inside, and that's why it was intercepted. And the play was telegraphed. Even if it was telegraphed, it doesn't matter because that play it's just based on pure ability and pure God-given talent. But other than that, I thought Tannehill's performance was spectacular. Winley, I think is your name, or Vertus? He says, how do you feel about us against the Jets next week? It's going to be a tough game. They're coming off a big game, a big win for them. So we're going on the road to MetLife. But Tannehill, his history here in Miami, he's always played well in MetLife. For whatever reason, I have no idea. But that defense is tough. They got a lot of momentum. I feel like their D-line is worse than it has been in recent years because Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, and Leonard Williams, all three of those guys are Pro Bowl caliber players. It might be easier to run against that front, but the defense is still pretty dang good, despite all of those losses. Even those are all three of those. I mean, other than Leonard Williams, they still have Leonard Williams, but those are two big losses for them. Those are two very good run stuffers and good pass rushers on third down as well. So we'll see, but it's still a good Jets defense. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things shake out. But they're a good team. They're good. They're a good football team. On defense, offensively, not so much. Let's see here. Even though they have good deep threat and Robbie Anderson, I'm not gonna get into the whole thing, but we'll see. The strength of their team is definitely defense. We gotta get these questions in because we're running up on an hour here, boys. This question comes from Ron. He says, "Did you know Frank Gore is only 15 yards away from moving past Curtis Martin on the all-time rushing list?" No, I learned that during the game. Before that, I didn't know he was that close to passing Curtis, but that's huge, man. That's huge. And Curtis is a very underrated player. Very, very underrated player. A lot of people don't remember how fun he was. I mean, for us Dolphins fans, it wasn't since he played in the AFC East for so long. But, he was a very talented player. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, our offensive line looked great today, allowing only 1 sack. Was this a result of all the breaks that had, or do you think they can remain consistent? It was a result of all the breaks they had. I don't know what breaks they had, my dude, but the 1 sack they allowed was very weird. I don't know if that was a busted protection or Tannehill just didn't notice the blitz coming off the left side. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But Durham Smythe, if so, missed the block. But other than that, yeah, the offensive line's looking really nice. Really, really nice. Brandon says, this next question comes from Brandon. He says, because we had the lead, our DBs were able to play more aggressive. How do you feel about the play of our defensive backfield? Tremendous. I thought they played very well. Ron, was TJ, this next question comes from Ron. He says, was TJ McDonald struggling? Why was TJ McDonald struggling versus the Titans? I don't know. Maybe he was just having one of those days. Who knows? But it was bad, man. He missed the tackle in the hole against Deion Lewis. He had a missed assignment for a huge play down the sideline to the tight end early in the game. I think it was on the first drive of the game, and obviously that goal line stand, which was huge. But yeah, he did not have a good game at all, man. At all. He needs to clean that up, dude. He needs to clean it up. He's a box safety, and that's why we have... I mean, Rashad's a better cover safety, but, dude, we cannot have 2 box safeties on the team. If Minka has to do it, Minka has to do it, but he's been playing... I think the secondary is so good right now, I don't want to mess that up. Hopefully TJ just can clean some of that up, man. Seriously. John Tree says, why don't media ever talk about the Dolphins? It's frustrating. They talk about everyone else. We just played the longest game in NFL history and still no mention. Tannehill looked good. A good story coming off injury. Ricky and Minka Fitzpatrick looked great. Good story. Gore looked fresh at 36. Good story. Many things to talk about, yet no coverage. Who cares? And I know it sucks, dude. Because when we get victories, you want our team to be talked about. It's week 1. If we keep doing it, we'll be the talk of the town. Trust me. Chris Prez, and I understand your frustration. I'm not saying you're stupid for caring. I'm not saying that. I completely agree. But you have to have that mentality, man. That underdog Philadelphia Eagle mentality. It doesn't matter as long as our team keeps winning. I don't care what anybody else says about this football team. It's just the mentality you have. But I get your frustration, dude. I 1000% get it. It sucks. It sucks. I can't tell you a reason why. I don't know. But I feel like the team was talked about, though. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just didn't notice it. I don't know. I just really didn't notice it, to be honest with you. But yeah, it is frustrating. Let's see here. I think Tannehill was talked about though. He got his own little highlight video, and he was on the NFL's top plays by players coming back off of injury. So for whatever that means, for whatever that for what I mean, rather for whatever that's worth. This next question comes from Chris Prez. He says, "Do you think Stills is our number one receiver?" Maybe. I think possibly yes, depending on how Devontae plays. Corporate Gamer Incorporated says, "Who do you think played best on defense?" Obviously Rashad, but other than that, definitely Minka. Fabian Martinez says, "Do you believe that over the next couple of games we catch fire?" I think we can. With DP coming back healthy, we'll see. We'll definitely see. We gotta stay consistent. Ziz, in one game, what did you think about the hit on? What did you think about the hit on Tyler Luan? I would rather have Andre not do that, but it is a physical football game. You're trying to oppose your will. I feel like stuff like that, it shouldn't be in a game of football. It's unnecessary. It's stupidity, in my opinion. Unless that block needed to be had, which it didn't, then there's no reason for it. It was almost after the snap as well, or after the play was over. It wasn't quite there, but it was closer than it needed to be, and it definitely didn't affect the play. But I don't think Andre wanted to go in there and knock him out, but he did. I would rather have him not do that. I'm not gonna say it was dirty because I don't think he came in with the intent of doing that to him. But he definitely came in with some heat, and he shouldn't have done it. So I think I would say I'd rather not see that of my team for sure. J Rose says, who do you think? And I think I would have to go back and look at the play because it wasn't as illegal as you might think. Because I know the penalty was thrown on it. I would have to go back and look at it, but from what I remember, it was a little unnecessary. J Rose says, who do you think will score more touchdowns this year between our receivers? And do you think we still need Parker at this point? Yeah, I don't think we need Parker, but it's definitely nice to have him if he can give us consistent football. And who do you think will help score more touchdowns this year between our receivers? That's a great question. Probably Kenny, because he's our big play guy. Corporate Gamer Incorporated says, do you feel confident about playing? Do you feel confident about playing? Let's see here, I lost my train of thought. Corporate Gamer says, do you feel confident about playing the Jets next week? I don't feel confident about anything. I just watched the game. Anybody can win any given Sunday, and the Jets are always tough. So, Corporate Gamer Incorporated says, how do you think? I'm confident in our team to execute and stuff, but I'm just not. I'm not like, yeah, we're going to come in here and win this game. I'm not confident in that. I know our team can do it. It's just, you know what I'm trying to say. Corporate Gaming Quarter says, who do you think needs to step up on offense and defense? Ooh, defensively? TJ McDonald. He played terrible. And offensively, just finish in the red zone. Nobody really needs to step up. Brandon says, we didn't sack the quarterback at all. Part of that was because of Marcus Mariota's mobility, but should we be concerned? I don't think we should be concerned. It was one game, and I felt like when we did get pressure, we did intercept the ball. Ron says, what was the deal with Fox pulling the Dolphins game immediately after the 75-yard touchdown to Kenny Stills, wasting cash on Sunday Ticket? I missed the end of the game. Yeah, that's super frustrating. They did that to my brother this week with the Panthers game. He was watching Sunday Ticket because the Dolphins game was on locally, and he could not watch the Panthers game for America's Game of the Week because it was delayed. And so, yeah, it was a very weird Sunday because of the delays and all this other stuff. Yeah, so it does happen sometimes. I think they do that for ratings. I'm not really sure why they do that because their main... the local or universal United States channel has the game playing. They want the ratings for it. I think that's why. It's very frustrating. It's stupid. I wish cable would die already. Nobody uses it anymore. I definitely don't use it. I only use it for Sunday Ticket as well, Ron. And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm waiting for DirecTV to get stabbed in the face, though. Just get it over with. Please stop. Let Google or Amazon, I don't care who, just something else have it. Mario Castello says, what do you think of the game? What are your thoughts on Ryan's first game back? How do you think the team is going to do in later weeks? What so you think the final score will be in the Jets game? I do not predict things like that. I can tell you what I have seen so far. I think Ryan Tannehill played very well. I think the team played very well. Miles Deep 305 says, my bad if I didn't proofread, lol. I don't know, I guess he was responding to somebody else. Bad Bandit says, why is the Tannehill Mike G connection not working? I think it is working, Bad Bandit. Out of 2 targets, he caught 1, and the other one was just not a great throw. I think we're going to definitely see that in later weeks. I can almost guarantee that, because in practice, that's all they do, suck up together. That sounded weird, but you know what I'm trying to say. Flipper13 says, this is a difficult game to grade due to the 2-hour delays. Finns were eating barbecue during the second break, not good. I don't know what that means. Were they actually eating barbecue, which I doubt. I don't know how you have that information, unless you were in the locker room, Flipper. Okay? Stop spreading lies. I don't know if that... And I didn't get the joke if it was a joke. I'm just joking around. But, it is difficult to remember some of the things because of the delays. Brandon says, Jakeem looked great today. Using this, do you feel he will receive more playing time? Don't know. Devontae Parker's definitely going to eat into some of that playing time, but we'll see. Lou says, do you think we will survive without Devontae Parker? Yes. Are you kidding me? Did you watch Sunday's game? Listen, Devontae, you better watch out, because people are coming for your job. If you cannot perform when you come back, it's going to be way easier to not play you. Especially since we have evidence that, hey, yeah, we can win a game against a good defense without you. Brandon says, I didn't really see much of the game after the second delay. Did Bobby and X continue to play well? When they continue, do they continue? Yes, they played very well. Played very, very well. I read the stat line at the beginning of your show. They played very well. Emmanuel Toka says, how do you feel the rookies played? I thought they played very well. I thought Minka played great, beyond his years for sure. And I thought Mike played well when he got his opportunities as well. Brandon says, what do you think will lead the team in INTs? Rashad's getting off to a great start, so that's going to be hard to beat because he's got 15 more games to play, and I guarantee he's going to get more. So I would say probably Rashad, but Minka, I would not sleep on Minka. Ron says, why was Charles Harris playing DT and taking most of the left end defensive end snaps? His natural position is right defensive end. Matt Burke makes no damn sense. Okay. I don't remember him playing DT. It's so hard to remember some of these things, Ron. I would have to go back and look at the game. I don't know. Maybe it was on pass rushing down. He just wanted to get all the pass rushers out there, so maybe that's the reason why. Brandon says, to be so old, Gore looked amazing. How do you think we use Gore considering his age, just like we did on Sunday, sparingly? Brandon says, and not sparingly, what I mean by that is just whatever situation it is. Brandon says, Minka looked like a first-round steal today. What other ways do we plan to use him? Probably just the same. Brandon says, despite throwing 2 INTs, Ryan looked sharp. What do you think will emerge as our number one guy? Gesicki definitely will be his favorite target, but in terms of receivers, wide receivers, I think Kenny Stills. And Danny Amendola. And, everybody, really. We got so many weapons. Miles Deep says, Skaggs, I want to know, how do you feel about our receiving core? From what I see, we have so much speed, and the opposing defense cannot guard it. When that will open up the deep ball. Yeah, and we saw that on Sunday. It did just that. And they're all really good. All run after the lineup that we had out there. All of them are really good at the quick passing because they're so good at running. Not only are they really good route runners and they execute that to a T, but they all are. What was I trying to say? They're all really good to run after the catch guys, and they're all really good route runners. So that helps. And that's why when Devontae is out there, I'm worried about that consistency and that flow being kind of affected because of that. Let's see here. Let's see here. Jefferson says, how do you feel about Tannehill? I thought Tannehill played amazing. Thomas says, did this game prove that Tannehill is making a comeback? He never... yes. In that sense of the word, yes, coming off the injury, but my dude's just being a beast. Tyler said, what just happened? Don't know what that means. We got a dub. That's what just happened. Lou says, after this wonderful performance, do you think we should trade Devontae Parker? Hold the phone. Not just yet. I think that's what it is. So that is going to be it, guys. I am Skyxter1083, and we got ourselves a dub. And I cannot wait to talk to you guys for next week. If you can support the channel, I would really appreciate that. And I am Skyxter1083, and I will see you guys in the next one.